What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Twink Revolution. I'm Sam.
And I'm Gian.
It's been a while. Our bodies were in recovery.
I was wrecked. We both got vaccinated in the last week, and I was a write-off for about like 4 days.
Yeah, I wasn't as bad.
You were kind of like lolling around the house, feeling sorry for yourself though.
That was for the first day. The next days, I actually was like doing physical labor for part of it.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. I feel like I didn't expect the actual sense of like psychological relief to be quite so palpable. I've never felt better about having like mild flu symptoms in my life.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really have a sigh of relief. I was just like, cool, let's get it done so we can, go back on a fucking plane. Like that's I guess like I'd given up
dreaming of like places I might want to visit or things I might want to do. I just like managed to like block all that out of my mind. And like as the needle went in my arm, like I had two thoughts. One was like, oh fuck, like I could travel somewhere. That's really exciting. The other one was like, maybe Microsoft SharePoint would actually improve my efficiency as an employee.
I had the same thought process. I mean, I was like, oh, now I can go to like Europe maybe soon, but also like, let's go buy an antique Windows phone. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. It's sort of amazing how you're just like, you know what? Maybe like we didn't give Windows Phone enough of a chance.
Yeah, I don't think I had a fair chance.
Yeah. So anyway, that aside, it is like, I know I see plenty of people who are like vaccine truthers or whatever online. I'm not one of them. I think they're very effective and I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a Pfizer, or not Pfizer. I'm a Johnson & Johnson person, for all the gay puns, but also it's one jab and done. And honestly, like
two Johnsons in you at once.
It wasn't too bad. Like if it would have been like the same, like the first day I felt like complete garbage. After that I was like achy and headachy, but like not even close to the first day, and like I don't need to get jabbed again and I'm done. Yes,
I got the Pfizer vaccine. Which is funny how everyone sort of introduces themselves now, like, hi, I'm Gian. I'm a Taurus, and I got the Pfizer vaccine. I'm looking forward to sort of like Electric Boogaloo 3 being like vaccine wars. It's like race war, but for which vaccine you got. No, I know. Yeah, I'm honestly happy about it. I feel good.
Yeah, it's fine.
You don't give a shit, do you?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want it either to like be over or like have like a mass like die off, and then it's like doesn't matter if you're dead. Like
how Malthusian of you! You must be part of the left. No, I don't know. For those of you who are perhaps about to be vaccinated, my two pieces of advice is like expect to feel like death the next day, but just remember you're not actually sick. You're just like.
Also bring your own lube, because they don't tell you to do that before they put the fingers in your butt. But the doctors,
yeah, you have to, yeah.
Mine was at a Walmart. I mean, that's. I assume that's what you do for vaccines. Is they just like finger you while like putting a jab in your arm.
Yeah,
is that not what they do?
That's how that works for everybody. Yeah. The other thing is those like lidocaine like stick-on patches were kind of good because your arm will hurt like shit. So recommend that for afterwards. Not like the actual injection doesn't hurt. It's just like you get like a stiff sore arm afterwards.
Yeah.
Some people are doing fine. I was a pussy about it. I've felt like crap.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be fine because the first day I was like, oh, it's good, and I woke up and like I couldn't get out of bed because I was like so like exhausted and like sore.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I waited in bed for like honestly like 2 hours before I got up, like with the willpower to like go to the shower and like sit in there.
So yeah, just good healthy stuff for your body, everybody.
Also my double D's came in.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's so many pleasant side effects.
Yeah.
And I actually started composing a letter using Clippy's auto-suggest templates after.
Oh yeah.
That. Yeah.
Love that.
That's great. But it's funny because we weren't doing the podcast for a little bit. I feel like we had a sort of a big run of interviews and stuff like that, and then we did one episode of just us.
Yeah.
And then we both just died.
Yeah.
And it was Easter, so on the third day we rose again.
We're revitalized now. I'm skinnier and hotter than ever.
Right, and I've switched all of my professional communications to Skype.
Oh wow.
From the Microsoft Corporation. Yeah. What's been going on? So I didn't read the fucking news for like 2 weeks, so I don't know what the fuck has been going on.
Yeah, I haven't been on social media too much. I like will go on for a bit and then just like not go back on. I think being sick actually helps with that. 'Cause like the last thing I want to read when I'm like dying is like Twitter.
Yeah, but you can actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, you can actually read Bing News and get all of your updates sent directly to your inbox with Hotmail.
I love that.
Yeah.
But is today Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Monday. So yesterday there was a bunch of Latin American elections, which I know all our American people really care deeply about. But Ecuador's left-wing choice,
Andres Arauz,
yeah,
something like that.
he sadly lost to conservative banker Guillermo Lasso. Is that how you would say it?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Asso. So that was sad, which is, but like at least he like, I think he handled it properly. He like, once he saw he lost, he's like, yep, you won. We respect like electoralism. So like they couldn't even do like the bullshit like, oh, they're trying to like dick us over. It's like, no, it's like we play by the rules, like, which is a very clever thing. Like,
I don't know if that's clever. It's just like what?
Well, it's clever.
What you do if you're invested in electoralism, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're all social Dems, like, which is like their version of socialism. But
sure. I mean, yeah. But Peru.
Yeah, Peru had like an unexpected one because no one talked about it. And
yeah, I'd never heard. So this guy, was it Pedro Castillo?
Yeah.
Who I'd never heard of. But his whole bag, right, is he's anti-neoliberalism, but socially more conservative than the woman who was running as the like quote unquote left candidate.
Yeah.
Who was like very into like all progressive causes,
like transgender rights and stuff like that.
And so he's like very like pro Maduro and things like that. Like
so she isn't.
Yeah, right. Her whole thing was she wanted to avoid being labeled a Chavista.
Right.
Thinking it would harm her chances, and she came 6th, I believe, in the election. Yeah. He won, and so he's
primary. It's a primary, so he'll be at he's going to the next round.
Oh, I thought it was an exit poll. Okay,
it was
for the primary.
This is a primary election.
Well, anyway, so he at least will be a candidate. And his whole thing is having a pretty fiery critique of globalized hegemonic capitalism. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Then he's also like not big on gay marriage and then what he calls quote unquote gender ideology.
Yeah.
Just one of those euphemisms you can smuggle a lot in with. But
I think it's important because Peru has been such an imperialist like neo-colony state for so long that he could be the outlet for Peruvian independence. So he's against the OAS, the Organization of
American States.
Yeah. And then he's also anti-Americanism. So like I assume ending the like debt traps and stuff. He wants to nationalize the oil fields, the mines, and I think the gas fields.
He says like, what is it? A people's economy with a market.
Yeah. So like probably like a Yugoslavia, like
some sort of
like a Venezuela, like Bolivia.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is sort of interesting. I mean, it's interesting that he has a critique of market capitalism and believes in, stronger state ownership of many primary industries and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cool. I guess what's throwing everybody for a bit of a loop is that he's not woke.
Yeah, but even on like the abortion issue, I think he's probably against it because it's Latin America's very Catholic. But
wait, what?
He said he wouldn't push it one way or the other. He would leave it up to the constituent assembly because one of his goals, like the rest of the left wing, is to rewrite the like Peruvian dictators develop like constitution and create one that's more, populist and independent versus the shitty system it has now.
So I mean, it's I guess this is sort of a point that comes up again and again in our little neck of the woods, which is like, can you be of the left and not hew to the left's sort of social positions?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can personally disagree with Castillo on whatever various social issues, but I do think that like it's an interesting exercise to at least think of, but what does it mean to present straightforwardly sort of populist economic demands decoupled from the kind of the left's cultural baggage?
Yeah.
And say, yeah, can you just be anti-gay marriage and pro-worker, pro-public ownership of, state industries and things like that? I mean, I think you can. It's at what point did we start to couple these things so tightly?
Mm-hmm. It's also not a dictatorship. I feel like the division of a constitution and like independence of a government, which will always lead to a more progressive line. I mean, even like the most like strict countries, when they've, or like social conservative countries, tended to eventually go in that progressive manner, whether it was like the socialist Eastern Bloc or like China or even like a lot of Latin America, like
right.
Venezuela has been moving a lot, and like Cuba as well. It's like, I think Peru maybe won't have it instantly, but having more democratic means more voices can be represented and have that public debate.
Right, because we, I guess like coupling, or rather, if we are sort of good Marxists, right, we believe that many of these social attitudes form a part of sort of the superstructure, and they are defined or sit within in a sort of dialectical relation to the base of production and economic issues. This is not vulgar economism, right? I mean, it just mean like that people freed of maybe more of their economic worries, or people who are more economically empowered, or have a different relation to the means of production, are actually likely to have more perhaps permissive attitudes on many social questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting that like the left in America really just doesn't believe this at all. They're all kind of Gramscians or just full on utopians, actually, in terms of believing that like if you get enough a gay marriage, then somehow you'll reform the means of production or something, or the relations to production.
Well, you see that with like every critique of other countries, whether it's like Russia or Iran or this Peruvian guy. And it's like they never are talking about the labor like struggles within these countries, or like the inequality of wealth between like the capitalists in the country and like the working class. It's always like, oh, well, they're bad on like this social issue that this country hasn't even gotten to the point where they've had like that broad debate. Like a lot of them are like in the baby steps, or like,
right,
or like keep getting fucked over. It's like they have like more like religious groups and stuff like that getting power, where like all debates prevented for like until like some social transformation happens in those countries.
Right. And I think the mistake is actually, can you sling me another one of the ciders over?
Yeah.
We're drinking a delicious blood orange craft cider. It's great. It reminds me of actually another product I really enjoy, which is actually MSN Instant Messenger. It's really good. Yeah. So anyway, but I guess the idea that you sort of take the or rather there's a line in the people who are perhaps trying to will a post-left into existence as a sort of specter or boogeyman, would be to say that like that to embrace these right-wing conservative social policies would be to get the job done. It's not. It's exactly as you say, right? It's simply that once you actually allow sort of somewhat economically liberated people to participate in a democratic process, individual freedoms of the sort we're talking about, say, affirming various gender identities and self-identification there, or gay marriage or abortion or whatever, like those tend to come along with the territory.
Right.
It's that, people get it all backwards when they look at like the US, where they start thinking, gee, those backwards southern states, they all just hate abortion and black people or whatever. It's like, well, maybe that comes along with them being dirt poor and having no like
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's I feel like this is such a played out debate, and yet we've just never arrived at a clear answer where people just genuinely have it backwards. They believe that these things are the cause of the poverty, not a product of it.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the social issues, even that's not what makes you like a leftist in a sense. I think if we're gonna go to like the progressive kind of mindset, like the historical like background of like what the left and right meant, it's like it was based in political like economic structure. It wasn't based on social issues at all. I think the left can have a lot of varying views on social issues, and to be like, you must believe every single one of these exactly this way or you're not on the left, is just like they're lying to you, and they're like trying to do it to prevent that real solidarity in those like spaces where it even would make sense to have debates, because when poor people and working people have no actual control over this, like the state and the economy, most of these debates don't matter because we don't have a say in them anyways. Like, like all the gay bills and shit, like most of those were like people of like a higher echelon and like the middle class and like upper classes having that debate. It wasn't, the gays in like Alabama and like, the dying like industry towns of like Michigan and stuff like that. It's like,
right. Well, and I guess it's sort of a deep philosophical question around like, can the working class be wrong?
yeah,
We live in a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie, and we sort of have things like, a bourgeois judiciary and a bourgeois legislature and yada, 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 right? And to the extent that the peoples whose interests are represented in that are the bourgeoisie themselves,
mm-hmm.
It's very rare that you put, gay marriage to a popular vote and it wins.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do very well. I mean, even in, liberal bastions like California or whatever, when it has been put to a vote, it loses.
Yeah, like the first place where it actually won was Ireland, where they had a popular vote.
Right, and a lot later, and
and then I guess Australia was later as well.
Right. So to the extent that like you're then saying, if you're saying that you would like the working class to be in control, you're not just saying you want the working class, as a sort of fetishized object to decide policy on gay marriage. You're saying that a broad base that is within itself very diverse in its views
mm-hmm.
is actually ideally situated to decide social questions.
Yeah.
Because put it this way, if you sort of say the bourgeoisie is like a very small slice of society, and within them they don't actually have a lot of diversity of opinion because they're all of a similar breeding and they're product of the same kind of economic conditions and the same education systems, et cetera, they don't need a robust process for dealing with difference and different ways of living.
Mm-hmm.
Given that, the proles and the rest of us form a huge block of society that has within it different ways of living, different senses of what it means to be happy or fulfilled, different ways to live well, et cetera, there must be that is the class that can come up with ways in which to, respect difference, as it were, to live, just live differently from your neighbor and yet live in some kind of, harmony, or live well together. Which actually reminds me, if you find yourself, having to coordinate with lots of different groups, Microsoft Teams is actually an amazing product that can be used to. Sorry, I was making a serious point there, but then the vaccine took over.
I think another thing that's really interesting is the debate around like, because he's like the socialist guy or whatever. Like that's what they're calling him. But I think the conversation kind of ends there for a lot of these, like what would be defined as social democracies anywhere else. We pretend these governments are socialist, like this political economy is like, I think one can acknowledge that this country is an anti-imperialist social democracy, but not, a socialist in Marxist terms. Like Venezuela is not a dictatorship of the proletariat because they have bourgeois parties running still. Hence why they have to worry about like Guaido and his party, and like you don't have.
They don't really have to worry about him. He doesn't seem to be able to get any support.
But they also have like large amounts of like private capitalist media and industry. Like, most of the industry is still private, and this is the same with like other countries. And I'm not saying that's shameful or bad or anything. But it's like we also need to recognize there's a step beyond that. Like if you're like a Marxist.
Right, and it's why it's so funny that self-described leftists, they run the gamut, right? They are left liberals primarily, and that's fine and well, and they're progressives.
Yeah,
but that's where their program starts and ends. And so it's interesting. We will perhaps see with somebody like Peruz Castillo, we'll see like what is the people backing away from that because he's not a progressive. He's a conservative. I mean, in his social attitudes.
Yeah.
And I guess it sort of bears repeating, right, that conservatism as a political force does have a critique of capitalism. It's one of the few, or at least of maybe sort of neoliberalism. Mm-hmm. And you can disagree with all their conclusions and their proposed solutions. But it is interesting that the left writ large doesn't have a critique of neoliberalism anymore.
Right. Yeah, I feel like people will just like fall into the trap of like whenever they use anti-imperialist for other countries, like they have to claim there's some form of socialism or something. When it's like, that is not true. Like, I don't think you need to be blind to the fact that not all these countries are socialist, because almost none of them are like socialist at all. Like,
right.
Like Belarus gets this where like, oh, well, they have a very socialist system. It's like, having state ownership is not socialist. Like, that's basic.
Socialism when the government does things, Sam.
But that doesn't mean like you have to be like, oh, well, boo, like, because like you can see what the communist parties or like the workers' struggles are like siding with there. Or like Iran, people try to call that socialist, and I'm like, that's not, and it's fine. Like, who cares? No. Like, I'm not saying like let's invade it. Like, it's like, well, it's not socialist, but it is fighting imperialism, and that's good.
Right, and I guess being able to tease apart those conversations to say as much that like governments that stand, or states in general that stand in opposition to kind of like capitalist hegemonic control of the world through a kind of neoliberal cultural norms and neoliberal like foreign policy norms. Yes, you can stand in solidarity with them on that point. In the same way that if you're going to an anti-war demonstration, you can stand in solidarity with a bunch of libertarian weirdos who have some very strange thoughts on age of consent laws or whatever. Like, yeah, like it's simply to say that like you're to be a socialist in 2021 doesn't really, you don't have a lot of places you can give uncritical support to.
Right.
and so if that's standard, or rather people sort of confuse cause and effect there. They're like, well, you support them, therefore they must be socialist, or because I support them, they are socialist. Like, no, neither. No, they're just, the global hegemonic order is overwhelmingly a bourgeois neoliberal order, and therefore you can look at people who are standing in opposition to that for various reasons. Sometimes they're doing it from the right, and sometimes it's a religious conservatism, and sometimes it's just about local geopolitical conditions. Doesn't make them fucking socialists.
Yeah. But on that issue, it's like it's the main contradiction for that region makes that allyship relevant, and that matters. Like, right now imperialism is the greatest tension of like contradictions in the world. So any country or like people or cause fighting against imperialism deserves at least to like, and this is my opinion, deserves like a critical support, because any blow to imperialism is a win for everyone. And that creates the space for genuine left wing and like working class people to take power.
Well, no, Sam, I read in a book once that actually American workers benefit from imperialism, and therefore they're personally responsible for it.
Yeah.
That's how that works. That's how causation works. Their failure to have a perfect Marxist revolution in a vacuum, while imperialism operates at a global scale, has actually made them culpable morally and personally as a class.
Yeah.
For that. So yeah, whoops.
You get
Checkmate, bitches.
you get like funny things where like you have communists be like talking about Syria, for example, and be like, we stand in solidarity with like the Assad government and the Syrian army against the imperialists. And you'll have like the anarchists and the Dem socialists like, wow, they think they're perfect and Assadist. And it's like, no one's saying like that this is socialism. Like if they are, well, like they're wrong. But like, it's because they're fighting against imperialism, and that's good. Like, no one's under the illusion that this is the epitome of living standards in the world, and we all like desire this for everywhere. Like, no, like,
well, sorry, I'm just pulling up the next topic on my. I've installed a Microsoft Edge for mobile. It's a new browser that competes with Safari and Chrome, and actually, I think maybe we just were too hasty to dismiss it. There's France has done more bans of the hijab, this time for the youth.
Well, it's in process. So our parliament passed basically a ban or additions which would ban minors from wearing like the hijab and stuff like that. So any religious clothing that portrays women as inferior to men.
Right. So and just for like clarity on terms here. So this is both like the headscarf and the like the dress, the burqa.
The burqa's
of course, already
banned.
out. Yeah. The burqa being the one that only opens your eyes, right?
Yeah, that's the niqab.
Oh, the niqab. Sorry, the burqa face is out. The niqab is only eyes are out.
I should have looked this up.
No, well, I realized as I started speaking about
those are both banned.
But the hijab is the kind of headscarf that honestly passes, at least in like American society and many Western societies, is like a, kind of a normal thing. Like nobody's like too freaked out by a hijab. It's a headscarf.
Yeah.
And I don't know, whenever we get into these fucking discussions, I'm always like, have you met Catholic nuns or like
right.
I don't know, like weird fucking religious headwear is sort of just a prerequisite of having an old religion these days.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Exclusive
also
brethren always wear headscarves. Like
they also made amendments that would ban Muslim mothers from wearing like a burkini at public swimming pools.
Didn't they already try and ban the burkini?
They did, but it was to make it illegal. Those were certain towns. It wasn't the state.
Oh, okay.
So it would be at all public swimming pools. You couldn't wear those, and you can't wear religious garments when you're doing school field trips.
So I guess I fall on the side of I personally not a big fan of religious imagery in general, but I do think these rules are just incredibly stupid and unenforceable, and like, it feels like one of these laws that sort of passed to please a political base, and it's kind of unenforceable in its root. And
right,
I like, how do you enforce this? Like, and I mean, I'm not the first to observe that like the people who just like go out wearing underwear on their head or something, like, and they're like, well, I'm a Pastafarian and I like, this is my religious symbol or something. Like, really? Like I don't see how you regulate private behavior on that order in any way that will ever result in sort of for one, whatever objective you had in mind being met, and in a way that ever feels like consistent or kind of like just.
Well, what if you also say you're not wearing it for religious reasons? Like, what if I go to like Paris Fashion Week and wear like a rainbow like burqa? Am I gonna be persecuted because of that?
If I tie a t-shirt over my head because it's very warm and I forgot to bring a hat,
Yeah.
am I breaking a law? Like, particularly the fact that it's sort of playing with youth as the, somebody please think of the children. Anytime somebody starts thinking of children, I think of that just hiding my children from whoever's trying to protect them. Honestly,
well, there's a lot of things that France has been doing that I do think I'd agree with. So, for example, it kind of cracks down on like gender segregation and like things like pools and stuff like that, which I think is fine because it's public resources. I think those should be available to everyone. I don't think we should be segregating those. It also like cracks down on like homeschooling, which often forces a lot of children into not going to school. And I think that's against the child's rights. I don't think parents have absolute right over them. And also restricts foreign funding, which like I don't want Saudi Arabia money going to like mosques in my country. Like in the same way, I don't want like, I don't know, like the Utah Mormon Church funneling money to like create mass converts in like my country. I mean, it's already here, but like, you know what I mean?
But yes, the idea there's something pretty sinister about vast amounts of religious dollars flowing into other countries is just always worthy of our suspicion, because I guess religions that have survived are by and large friendly with or have learned to coexist with the capitalist state. And so it's, you can't say that like, the official state export of Islamism and the private and clerical beliefs of those who are controlling clerical doctrine in Saudi Arabia are not separate.
Right.
They and in the same way that American foreign policy and those who control the purse strings of the Mormon Church, say, are not really separate either.
Right.
I mean, and the Mormons do have, as it turns out, weird, vast church congregations all over, say, the South Pacific. And so I guess in so far as like, when you talk about like foreign funding of religious activities in other countries, even France, the imperialist power that it is has the right to say no.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird to focus on like religious clothing. It's not.
Yeah. So they also ban
my Red Scare shirt is going to be in question next.
They do, at least unlike French Quebec, like which tends to only just do like Muslim stuff and ignore like the Catholic stuff.
Yeah.
France is pretty like universalist when it comes to cracking down. Like you can't wear crosses to schools. You can't wear the Sikh headscarf. You can't wear a kippah.
Yarmulke?
Is that a yarmulke?
I don't know.
Okay. We can't wear that to schools either. So they are pretty like, even in there, though. I think they made an adjustment for like the military for men wearing the Sikh headscarf. So it's just kind of like, I think it's the wrong way to approach the issue, because I do think like this is a feudal custom that's bad. Like I don't.
Oh yes, believe me, putting bits of cloth on your body because you believe the creator of the universe told you to is a fucking weird practice. I'd rather do without, but
there's also a patriarchal practice.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, like
Abrahamic religions being patriarchal. What next?
And like we know, other places have done successful campaigns in fighting it. Like I was reading about, well, the Soviet Union did this, for example, in like Central Asia, and their process was having like Russian, Ukrainian women going to work in like child facilities where women could take off their like horrible like horsehair made veils, and it's like hot as fuck in Central Asia.
Sure.
When it's hot out, and basically they would have mass like parades of women unveiling and stuff like that, and people joining the workforce where they can't always wear those. So there was more, it kind of created that space where women could take greater independence. And they're not doing it here. They're not fighting it from an economic or an ideological thing, like, because they're not changing anyone's mind, or the women who maybe do think that this is what they're supposed to be wearing's mind. But like, even like Afghanistan did this, where like the royal monarchies and then later the progressive socialist government had like the highest people who had like the least people could touch them, be like their wives would no longer wear veils. They unveiled, and then it would go down to like, you know, the bureaucrats, and then like the more things would kind of go down. And it's like
a trickle down liberation for women.
It kind of was, and it did start to work, like, but they never banned it.
Right. Yeah, I guess like what objective? Maybe the theme of this episode is like confusing cause and effect, where if you can get people to stop wearing the veil, you somehow think you're fighting the attitudes that lead women to either believe it's the correct thing for them to do. Because I think it's a mistake to always assume this is like imposed by men on women. That's the root of it.
Right.
But it's not necessarily how it plays out in a given community or a given person's life. I mean, there are plenty of women who will stand up and say, I wear this because I find it personally empowering or personally liberating, or other women who enforce it on other women. Like, and you know, so be it, whatever. But like the idea that you can simply stop them wearing it and think you'll change those attitudes, it's backwards.
Well, also just, I think it's dumb. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not a woman, but I think your religious attitudes don't have merit simply because you say they have merit. Like, I like the same way, like, I don't respect religious people who use it to defend like their anti like gay attitudes. Not as much like I don't like it, like, you know, imposing it onto society. Like, I don't have respect. I don't need to have respect.
No, I think it's stupid. I'll call you stupid for believing it. Stupid.
And I think you see the liberals like doing this now. Like, I mean, like woke tard liberals, not like the French liberals who are pushing this, because
who are kind of quite right wing in the traditional liberal sense.
Yeah, but it's like campaigns of like, oh, like young girls should wear like hijabs in solidarity. It's like a lot of Muslim people who are, or like ex-Muslims, are very upset because the whole thing of that is like forcing young children like and people to wear hijab is because they're considered sexualized. You cover them up. It's like, it's like when you see like young like 4-year-olds being covered, it's like there's more than just like being covered up. It's like, oh, well, they think they're sexualized, and that's problematic. And it's like, why are we? Well, it's like, how is that helping anyone? Like, oh, everyone cover up using like a backwards feudal religious custom. Like, it's like circumcision. Like,
wait a minute,
as well.
Cortana, please show me images of unveiled 4-year-olds. Wait, why is that? Sorry, there's some FBI warning here. I don't. What is this? My Internet Explorer browser has shown me a warning about. I don't know what's going on there. So I don't know. People having a fucking normal one is. I think they, like, I don't know. Is this the correct place to use public policy? I just don't think it is. I feel like, if what you think is that this is an outdated and backwards custom, which, you know, I'm sympathetic to that view.
Right.
The question would be, what are you doing to materially lift the conditions of women and of everyone in your communities? France is doing dick all. You know, Macron is... well,
they're in ghettos.
Yeah, exactly. So like, fix that, and I guarantee you that you will not have a hijab issue.
I mean, if you look at
people might wear them, but they're not going to have the same meaning or connotation because they just can't. These customs cannot survive actual economic empowerment.
Right. I mean, we also know like a lot of places only had a resurgence in the custom after like, you know, interventions or poverty swept the country. Like in the Middle East, like there was a huge secular wave, or like a mostly secular wave, and a lot of women didn't wear any religious like veils and stuff in like Baptist like Syria and Iraq, or like
In Iran,
like
was
Lebanon,
patched up,
like
yeah,
people wear bikinis still in like parts of Syria, and it's like,
sure. Yes, and it might mean that, to in the same way that arguments about, say, like abortion in the US, and I only kind of bring it back to the US because it's a cultural context which lays the contradictions more bare. Say, like, do you notice that, like, problems of, unwed teenage mothers or whatever just sort of seem to go away when people are filthy rich?
right?
Either through, access being easy to birth control, or whereby, like, it turns out just a set of social norms that are fundamentally products of poverty and products of being disenfranchised and alienated from labor, or just basically being completely frozen out from society.
Right.
And there's no reason to believe this is any different. And
Yeah.
again, it's like, well, when you have a fucking hammer, and when your hammer is believing that sort of like culture war issues, which form a perfect distraction from economic issues in every society in every fucking instance, well, every problem looks like a fucking nail, doesn't it? So you can turn anything to a culture war issue.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally about, if you think women are having trouble in your society, well, women do suffer worse than men from any of the first. They are the canary in the coal mine of economic disenfranchisement. And so
Right.
if the women in your society who are, say, ethnic or racialized in your society are having trouble, I guarantee you it's the fucking hijab that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's your fucking society. It's your fucking structure of your economy.
Mm-hmm.
And, fucking Macron,
Yeah.
suck a dick.
No, he's trying to do like this like weird nationalism, and using this to kind of make the outsider. He's doing the same thing like a Trump would do, like, but
Right.
like in a way that's
it's a kind of populism of the bourgeoisie. It's it's throwing table scraps. It's gladiator sport. It's it's putting a public spectacle for the benefit of the hooting, baying morons, right? And the crowds, the masses, the unwashed mob.
Yeah.
Well, it's a perfect distraction if people take the bait of not actually making them do something useful.
Well, it's like, remember like when Denmark was going to do like, I think their burqa ban, and it's like the article which I read was like, there's only 100 women in the whole country who actually wear the burqa. And I'm like, who is this for? Like, it's not for anyone. Like, are these 100 women really the problem?
Just ruining society.
And also, like, I think it's really silly because you're going to punish the women. You're not going to publish, like, if the men are forcing them, they're not going to be punished for that. Like, 'cause you have to prove, like, oh, well, they are forcing him, all that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of putting the reliability on potentially those who are marginalized within the home as well. It's like, because they get fined.
Of course.
And then that's,
Yeah, how do you
pushes
think
them
that
in-
works out?
yeah, like, stripping women on the beaches of their bikinis is a really, like,
Yeah, that's going to go great.
liberating thing. Like,
What do we got next? Actually, sorry. Let me pull up my Office 365 account. Yeah, which is accessible from everywhere through the Azure cloud. I see Twitter, a competing cloud internet service, not compatible with my Windows mixed reality device, but we can, it's fine. So Twitter has this public policy unit. What are they up to?
It's mind blowing. I didn't know
Is
that was.
the Twitter imperialism?
Oh my god! It's literally just at policy.
Yeah. So Twitter policy have launched along off the strength of their Me Too hashtag icon and their Black Lives Matter icon. They've launched a Milk Tea Alliance emoji,
Yeah.
not Milk Toast Alliance.
Yeah, they tweeted, today we are launching an emoji for the hashtag Milk Tea Alliance, an online solidarity alliance first started in April 2020 as a Twitter meme, which has grown into a global pro-democracy movement led by activists and concerned citizens in Hong Kong.
I'm a concerned citizen.
In Hong Kong, Thailand, Taiwan, and I think it's Myanmar, and around the world.
Hmm.
And basically,
Didn't Jack take a fucking hot air balloon over the Rohingya territory?
did he?
He did, yeah.
To be fair, Myanmar is like from the pictures I've seen is beautiful. They have like these
No,
giant pagodas.
not dispute. I'd love to visit, but it's more like I just love Twitter's like social justice unit. It's just cannot even accidentally not be imperialist as shit. They're just like tools of imperialism.
Well, it gets better. So at the very end of their like law and thread, they're like, during times of civil unrest or violent crackdowns, it is more important than ever for the public to have access to the open internet for real-time updates, credible information, and essential services.
Unless we ban you for reasons that are sort of political.
Yeah, we strongly believe that having access to a free and open internet is an essential right and remain a staunch defender and advocate of free expression and condemn #internet shutdowns.
They literally banned the sitting president of the United States.
Yeah, they
believe in open access and open debate.
They routinely prohibit foreign government accounts, like governmental accounts.
Yeah, official government accounts of other countries.
They hold double standards of like,
Doesn't Venezuela have a hard problem?
Venezuela gets taken down all the time. Yeah. But they have even Bolivian media gets taken down a lot, and then like they'll like say, "Oh, this is funded by the Russian government or the Iranian government." There's no warning under like Radio Free Europe or Radio Free
CNN
Asia.
CNN gets giant tax breaks from the U.S. government. Is that
BBC
US funded?
Doesn't get it either. Like,
no, funny that. Right, and this hypocrisy is sort of like par for the course. I guess what's so scary about it is like when you think about, not that they behave this way. That's like, sure, that's expected. They're a for-profit corporation that exists, to do what it does and produce, returns for shareholders. It's that their employees and their leadership are fundamentally believe that they have a moral need to shape the narrative in this way.
Right.
And that they hold the keys to all the recommender systems that are basically underpowering how everybody uses a system like Twitter. It's not, there's no neutral voice here. It's a very opinionated platform already. And that these are the people who tell you that like we support Western imperialism.
Yeah.
And that is our political allegiance. And that's the overt stuff. The covert stuff is the fact they also control recommender systems and warning labeling and banning, suspension, and so on and so forth. And they are the ones who are crafting the narrative. How nice for all of us. How good for our discourse.
Right. I looked into the milk tea things. I've literally never heard of this, and it's hilarious.
You're a tanky.
There's a lot of white people like in the threads, and one of them was like sharing, like I think it was a Chinese state media thing of them like China condemning like the Myanmar coup. 'Cause that's what kind of pushed this thing. And they're like, "Good job, Milk Tea Alliance. We got them to change their view." And it's like China just had their view because like who the fuck wants to work of a like unstable country? Like no one does. Like, including like the leader who got ousted, Aung
San Suu. Fuck, why can't I do that? What is her name? Aung San Suu Kyi.
Yeah, okay. Like she was down for working for the like of China on like projects for the country, so it's like they didn't want her like removed. But it's like, girl, like why do you care so much? Care about your own country, like, like it's kind of funny. Like I think the origins of this online was some Thai, media figure or something saying Taiwan is a country, and it created some feud. And then like his like actress wife also like had things, and that's what created like the Thai versus like China things. Like for one, Thailand's like a monarchy junta run by like the police state. They banned the Hunger Games. I think it was the second or third one.
Oh yes,
people were doing the Hunger Games hand symbols because they want real democracy. Like,
It's honestly lame as shit to use the Hunger Games, but like, good on you. Use whatever you want.
hey, it's better than Harry Potter.
That's true. That's so true.
Like, at least the movie where like it makes sense. Like, okay, this movie's about a horrible like police state, and you want to be free
Yeah,
from
there's
it.
a sort of I guess I was reminded the other day of Equilibrium. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't know.
It's
What's it
like
about?
I think Tom Cruise is in it.
Okay.
I could be wrong here, but it's like Brave New World meets 1984 meets Fahrenheit 451.
Okay.
And it's just like a blending together of the imagery of the three. And then Hunger Games is sort of like, plagiarized shit too, as Battle Royale.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, whatever. I guess whatever gives people hope.
Hunger Games is less like outright anti-communist propaganda.
Then,
Oh, Battle Royale was
Royale?
just like explicitly
yeah, exactly.
like.
Well, the book is. The movie wasn't so much.
Yeah, the movie didn't talk about shit like about the society.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm not. I should
Yeah.
not be joining the milk tea movement, the
Also,
milk
like,
toast movement.
Two of these places aren't even countries. Like they're not like
Yeah.
Hong Kong and whatever. Like it's like it's the liberal like tech worker like kind of
Yeah.
cause of like, oh well, protesting means they're good and we must like they kind of like there's no actual analysis.
January 6th was that's why you can't call it a protest.
Yeah, it was a
It has to be a riot or an insurrection.
yeah.
Whoops. Well, anyway, are we about done there? I only asked because I think my Microsoft Xbox gaming console has arrived, and my vaccine microchips are telling me it's time to go.
Well, we'll have to
Enjoy
go.
that.
I think we should go get it. We
Very
should
good.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm compelled. One of us, one of us, one of us. Anyway, so if you're getting vaccinated, enjoy, and please enjoy the full Microsoft suite of products, as I do
Yeah.
always.
And that's the rest of our episode, guys. Bye.
Bye.